Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 458 of the No Sugarcoating Podcast. How are you? How is it almost halfway through January 2024? How's your new year treating you? I hope it's going amazing. I'm super excited for today's episode, which we're going to dive into right away. Today, I've been thinking about this for a while, and I know when I think about a topic for a while, and it keeps coming up that it's important for me to talk about it. And it's kind of a life experience that I'm going to break down and help you understand how this could be impacting you. But it's been a really interesting experience for me over the last year and a half, and I'm going to share it all with you today. And it's actually around releasing weight by releasing negative emotions, which is something I wasn't trying to release weight or anything. I'm very happy with my body and accepting of her, but I'm going to dive into the story. And then I'm going to help you understand and break down how negative emotions overwhelm the nervous system and how an overwhelmed nervous system fuels weight gain. Because I think we have, again, been so heavily conditioned and brainwashed that it is about less calories, calories in, calories out, burn more calories. And it's such BS and it's so archaic. There's so much more beyond this. And I know my clients that come and work with me, and I've been through this, and you've probably heard this from others, or maybe this is the first time you're going to hear about this. But I really want to break this down to help you better understand that if you're struggling with weight loss, if your weight's plateauing, right? I refer to weight as a protective mechanism. The body hangs on when she doesn't feel safe. I want to break this down. And the goal is to help you better understand why you might be hanging on so that you're not so freaking hard on yourself. Because I know how harsh of a critic the ego is with weight and body image insecurities and weight gain and your clothes fitting tight and trying to do all these things in the new year to see the weight loss happen. And then the scale doesn't move. And it's like, obviously, there's a whole other conversation around ditching quick fixes and actually addressing the roots, but we'll talk about that another day, or you can listen to one of the other episodes where I talk about that. But this is really important for us to talk about. So if you're listening and watching on YouTube, leave a comment below if this is something that you are currently struggling with and that you're wanting to overcome. Because let's face it, right? I'm all about building self-love and really building a confidence and acceptance regardless of where your weight is at. And I also believe we all have a natural set point and we'll go to that place as the body feels safer to do so. And diets, restriction, and punishment are not going to be the be all end all that gets us there and keeps us in a maintenance. So I'm going to talk about that, my whole experience with this over the last year and a half, because I was like really fine with where my body was. And then a shift occurred and I can see why now. So I'm going to talk about that right away. Also, 2024, holy moly. Did you know that from a numerology standpoint, this is my little note of the day, and I'm probably going to record a whole episode on this next week and go more into the spiritual, energetic woo, because we're in an ascension, people, and this means the planet is increasing in frequency. And as the planet increases in frequency, things get louder. And 2024 is the year of abundance and manifestation. Okay. If in numerology, if you look at 2024, 2 plus 2 plus 4 equals an 8, and that is abundance and manifestation. 2024 is also the year of karma. So the kind of person we've been and how we've shown up within the world, right? So if you're like a good person, which I feel like the majority of the people of the world are, and then there's this small group of piece of crap people who are like horrible people. Well, 2024 is the year of karma. And I think if some of you are on the same page as me, we're already starting to see that karma boomerang for that small piece of crap group of people, if you know who I'm talking about. Anyways, so it's super exciting. I feel like this year is going to be amazing. And I'm also really getting that it's really important that we really keep integrated into using our self-care tools and practices to stay grounded, because it's going to be a really, I think, intensive, energetic year. But I'll get into all of that next week because I feel like I could just record a whole episode on that now. So yeah, if you think you know who I'm talking about and you want to leave a comment on YouTube about the piece of crap small group of people that think the karma is really going to hit hard this year, right? Let's go. So a couple of key announcements before we dive in today. The show notes for today's episode can be found at amberapproved.ca/podcast/458 or in the description below if you're watching on YouTube. A couple of quick friendly reminders is to subscribe to the Body Freedom newsletter if you want to stay connected. I always say, like, if anything ever happened to Instagram or Facebook or the podcast, like the newsletter is where you're going to be able to stay in connection with me, or obviously my website, amberapproved.ca. But I think it's just so important that, we stay connected. Like, I know my favorite people, I'm subscribed to all their newsletters in case anything ever happened to social media or podcasts. And if you're listening to today's episode, and I'll remind you again, but you're going, oh my gosh, I really am struggling with my weight, my body image, my confidence. I feel like I'm fighting with food and that it's really having a negative impact on my life and my well-being and my happiness and my quality of life. Well, here is your open invitation to connect for a conversation. Whether you want to connect for a 30-minute body freedom consultation, it's $50. You fill out an intake form and we hop on Zoom for 30 minutes to talk about your block struggles, goals, and where you're seeking support. Or you want to email me, info@amberapproved.ca, to talk about the highly supportive programs, what's going on for you. And then I can give you some guidance and suggestions on where to start or what kind of a program to come into. I really encourage you and invite you to reach out for a conversation at the very least and see where it leads you. Okay, so let's dive into today's episode. Release weight by releasing negative emotions. Okay, so the story. And I've had a lot of my clients experience this as well. So obviously, when I first stopped binge eating like 13 years ago, holy moly, it's crazy to think that it's all been that long. Almost 14 years now. Wow. I gained a lot of weight because I had a lot of hormone issues. My nervous system was overwhelmed. I had a lot of inflammation, gut issues. I didn't really love myself yet, but at least I'd stopped the binge eating. That was like a massive step in the right direction. And then, release that 60 or 70 pounds via identifying the key roots of my hormone imbalances, really working on regulating them, regulating my nervous system, which means really like balancing my system, learning healthier ways to deal with stress, integrating more self-care practices. And you might be rolling your eyes and going, oh my gosh, I don't have time to do a million self-care practices in the day. Like, I've got a life, Amber. And I know you do. And all of my clients do. And so do I. And it's not about all of a sudden you have to like dedicate entire days and like stop your life to heal this. No, that's not what I'm saying. But it's like understanding that, wow, like the body wants to heal. Wow, the safer my body feels, the easier it is for her to let go of protection. And I don't have to restrict or count calories or diet or go and exercise my butt off or any of those things. Like, I can do it in a mindful, intentional way that is more restful and actually more simple. And that's really what I want to get across today, is that the other thing too is when you're not focusing on it is usually when it happens. It's like hubby and I getting this house. Like, we're not at all focused on moving and buying this amazing home that we're living in now. And we're now settled and it feels so good. And there's no noise. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. So quiet here. I'm so grateful. But we weren't expecting it. What we were working on is our mindsets and ourselves and growing together and like just being good people. It's like when we go out for a walk and someone has littered, we pick it up and throw it in the garbage. Like, if someone's peed on the toilet seat, and I go and like I wipe it up, it's like, oh, why can't people just like be clean? Right. But this is the good karma. And I'm actually going to link something in the show notes that I want you guys to go listen to if you feel called to. But as you know, last March, I interviewed a lovely soul and her name is Blossom Goodchild, and she channels Federation of Light and a white cloud. And you can go and check her out on YouTube. Some of you probably already listened to her. And she did this really beautiful, trust me, there's a point to this. She did this really beautiful channeling with the Federation of Light. And she did like a volume 4 Best of the Federation of Light. And it's this most beautiful 20 minutes where they talk about us being here on this planet. And, that no act of service is smaller than another. So you picking up a piece of garbage off the ground is just as much of a high frequency act of service as someone donating like $1 million to a hospital, because we're all doing our part. So, it's a beautiful channeling. You all should go listen to it. I listen to it like at least once a week. It's so uplifting and incredible. And it just reminds us of why we're here on the planet and that we really do all play a really valuable role, regardless of what we're doing or not doing, where we are on our journeys. You're important, you're powerful, you matter. And that's your friendly reminder of the day. But my point with that whole story about the channeling and stuff is like, we're just focusing on how can we, like, in essence, go out and like be of service and like have a positive impact, and like cleaning up trash off the ground holding the door for somebody, smiling at somebody. Like these are all things that positively raise the frequency of the planet and help have a positive impact on humanity, right? And so we were not focusing on buying a house. We were just focusing on living. And it was unfortunate that we weren't sleeping well and all that stuff was happening. But then it's like the universe always provides. Like I truly believe that God, doesn't matter what you believe in. When I say the universe, it's just like higher power of whatever you believe, that it obviously has a positive impact on humanity. So it's the same with weight and weight loss. It's like when you're focusing on it heavily, when you're obsessing about it, when you're needing it to happen, when you're coming from lack, just like with anything, it's the same with money, business, doesn't matter. But when you're coming from a place of lack and I need to lose weight because I don't look good enough and I don't feel good enough, and I need to lose weight because otherwise I'm never going to be happy. I need to lose weight to be loved and to have romantic relationship. I need to lose weight for success and people take me seriously. Honestly, no, you don't. You don't need to lose weight for people to take you seriously. You don't need to lose weight to have the love in the romantic relationship. It's your limiting beliefs and thoughts that hold you here. It's your ego that convinces you you need to lose weight to have the things you want and to have the happy, amazing life you desire. But the irony of it is weight loss doesn't really like do a lot in the moment when there's a lot of other like internal emotional struggles going on, right? So, as a couple of examples, like losing weight didn't help with the noisy neighbors, like, right? Like that didn't help deal with the situation at all. Like you can lose all the weight in the world, but if you have a lack mentality and you're terrified of running out of money, like the weight loss isn't going to help you deal with that. I think we get into this mindset that like, once I lose weight, like everything else will just be so much easier to deal with. And the honest truth is whatever your other insecurities and blocks are not going to feel easier because the weight doesn't help take the emotional weight off of your like emotional connection and charge to those fears, worries, insecurities that you have, right? So we've been so conditioned and brainwashed that it's the be all end all to lose weight, but it's not. Yes, I believe we all have a natural set point and that we will fluctuate between a few pounds, right? Like barometric pressure, you're where you are in your cycle, your hormones, eating too much salt, like stress, not sleeping good. There's so many potential things. Energetic, like a day where there's a lot of high frequency energy coming onto the planet from a spiritual energetic standpoint, like, and I'll talk more about the Schumann resonance next week, but holy crap, like as I'm recording this and I'm looking at the Schumann resonance, like we've just had a ton of really high frequency light coming onto the planet. We've got solar flares and you can get apps to like measure these that have been insane. All of this can make your body weight fluctuate. And what it more is retention. I always talk about how we can retain up to 5 to 20 pounds of water. And it's true. It's not necessarily that you've all of a sudden gained weight. It's retention depending on different thoughts, beliefs, and balances going on in the body, what's going on around you collectively, energetically, etc. I'm just sharing all these things because it just starts to open up this like opportunity to see how vast and multi-layered weight and protection and the body hanging on to protection can be. So anyways, to go back to the story, right? It was like September of 2022. I went through a big Ascension upgrade. And if you don't know what Ascension is, I'll talk about it more next week. But essentially, there is a massive shift going on the planet. It is a good thing, but there's a lot of things that are getting loud as part of this because what happens right before an up level, things get really loud and intense. Just like if you're shifting and healing binge eating or weight or challenging your ego or up leveling in your business or your work or in your relationship, usually there's things that challenge you. And then, if you're up for it and you work through it, right, a lot of good and clearing and healing happens. And it's like the earth is going through the most massive candida cleanse on the planet right now, right? So I'll talk more about that next week. However, what happens with these shifts with energy and solar is it can impact our bodies. Like it can give us symptoms. It's called ascension symptoms. I did record an entire episode on ascension and ascension symptoms and going deeper into that. So what I will do is I will put a note and I will put I don't want to forget to add the stuff to the show notes, but I'm going to add this stuff in there. I'm just writing it down because I want to make sure you guys can go and check this out because I think for more and more of you, it's going to resonate. I know as I talk to some of you that become clients or some of you who listen on YouTube or wherever you're like, oh my gosh, this is totally what I'm feeling and resonating. And some of you are gonna be like, I have no idea. And that's fine. But I just really want to have this available so that you can go and get caught up before next week's episode comes out if you feel the need to. So one of the things that you can go and check out is you can go and check out episode 385 of the No Sugarcoating Podcast, Physical Symptoms and Energetic Healing, Understanding Ascension and Ascension Symptoms and Patience with Your Process. I will add that into the show notes for today. But this is the one you're going to want to go and listen to just for a bit of a catch up and a deeper explanation where I talk a bit about more in depth about like the big purge that happened last year for me. But this is going to be really cool for you to check out. So essentially, what happened was I had this massive kind of like purge. Essentially, I had all kinds of nausea and heartburn and discomfort and all kinds of different symptoms that came up, but nothing really had shifted. I wasn't sick. There was nothing wrong with me. Of course, I went to the doctor and got like an ultrasound of my gallbladder and all these different things to just see and make sure that everything was okay, blood work, liver, all that stuff. And everything's physically fine. There's nothing wrong with my body. But sometimes these ascension symptoms will kick up. And so it's like I went through this big purge through the end of September into October. And these symptoms can really impact your energy meridians. And so as this is all happening, things finally cleared into November. And it's like my body just started to shift again and started releasing more retention. To me, it felt like retention. It didn't feel really much like weight. And I wasn't trying to lose weight or anything. This is just, I'm not focusing on it. It's just happening. I'm just helping my body to continue to feel safer. And she's just letting go of what she doesn't need. And one of the big things, so that's the first like phase of this, releasing, weight by releasing negative emotion, is that I went through a massive purge in 2020, well, the end of 2022, going into pretty much almost the entire year of 2023 of releasing like massive guilt and shame around money, around when I was younger and like had just first moved away from my hometown and would need help because I wasn't good with money. And there was a lot of guilt and shame that came up around that. There was a lot of interesting emotion that came up in business, just having a bit of a different year than I was used to, in prior years. It was an amazing year. I learned so much. I healed so much. I went so deeply inward, and it allowed me to purge all this guilt and shame and fear and lack around money and all of these things. And what you don't see, right, is the behind the scenes, like all the work that is done, all the discomfort, all the tears, all of the like beating up my pillow and screaming into it, which is called sacred rage. And if you haven't ever tried it before, seriously give it a try, because when I go through my like tapping and breath and journaling and I'm still feeling this emotion coming up, the most amazing, effective tool that I use that is so helpful to help me clear, especially fear, worry, lack, anger, like really intense emotions, or overwhelm, if you're feeling like a lot is built up in your body, is called sacred rage. And so I did a ton of this in 2023. And if none of my other tools would shake it, I would do this. And why am I bringing this up? Why is this so important? Well, because as we go through our lives, and not just this life, it could have been a past life as well, but as we go through this life, we go through experiences where we create the emotions of guilt, fear, worry, lack, shame. And so for me, I created a lot of guilt and shame around money, 18, 19, 20, 21, because I was not so great with money. And so all of that was stored in my body because I went through that, and then I started binge eating. And so everything, all my emotions just got suppressed. And so what happens after you heal binge eating is, through the years to come, certain circumstances will come up where all of a sudden certain emotions, memories, stuck energy in the body will start to come up for release. Okay. And this is all stored in your nervous system, your cells. Okay. And it creates kind of, I don't want to say a trauma, but it creates an imprint, like a memory. And then when you think about these certain memories or other circumstances come up where you feel the same way, it can put you into a stress response, and it can make you feel this guilt, this shame, this worry, this anger, whatever it is again. It's like I was having a conversation with a client the other day, and she's like, oh my goodness, like one of my family members is coming to stay with me for a while, and he reminds me of another family member, and it's really triggering a lot of old negative emotions up in me that I thought I fully cleared. And I said, it's okay. Like, this is just coming up so you can clear it even more and have more inner peace and freedom from these old emotions that don't serve you anymore. So I was, clearing all of this stuff out in 2023, and so much purging and so much letting go and building up more trust, more faith, more confidence, really trusting the universe has my back. And I'm so deeply supported by those that I love around me, and that I literally never have anything to worry about, truly. But we have to face our own fears. We have to work through our own insecurities. And so I'm doing all this clearing. I'm doing my sacred rage. I'm doing my tapping, my breath, my journaling. I'm really doing a lot to move this emotion under the body, because one of the reasons that we hang on to weight is because a lot of the stuck emotions sit in the body. And if we don't have tools to actually move them up and out of the body, they stay stuck. And then you constantly keep feeling them. So for me, the guilt and the shame was really emotionally and energetically weighing me down. And in some form, it was part of the safety, part of the protection my body was still hanging on to. So as I did all this clearing and releasing, and I will still use Sacred Rage as a tool, however, things feel a lot more grounded, and I don't feel the same about the things that I did, this time last year. I feel a lot more calm and in trust and faith, and personally just really freaking pumped for the year. But I value that tool so much because I think I purged years of guilt and shame out of my body last year. And it wasn't like current things that were making me feel guilty. It was like circumstances that were triggering this past guilt and shame to come up for clearing and release from the body. Okay. And so that sacred rage and these tools that I use really saved me and really helped me clear it out, and would help ground me and regulate my nervous system more easily, rather than if I just felt anxious all the time, felt like I had to carry these emotions all the time, which we don't want to do. You don't have to do that. That is a lot of unnecessary suffering. So what I started to notice as I, was going through the year and like clearing all this out is like, my rings are fitting looser, my clothes are fitting looser, really fitting looser, and like, wow, like, okay, interesting. Like, I'm not eating differently. I'm not doing more exercise. I'm not doing, right. We're just walking, biking, like stretching, gentle yoga. Like, that's personally what I like. If you like more intensive stuff, that's fine. But just really like being mindful. And this is then what's happening. And it's like, wow, like I can really see how purging all this suppressed emotion from the past just help my body feel the next level safer. And as I build more trust and faith in myself, my abilities, that I'm so supported, right? And that I truly create my reality. And so it's for me to own and focus my energy on what I want instead of what I don't want, which of course, sometimes we focus on what we don't want. That's okay. But I'm talking about for the most part. I started to really learn about energy and, my energy field, and what raises my frequency and drops my frequency, and what opens me up and makes it easier for me to receive more of what I want, and what closes me and contracts me and blocks, me from receiving more of what I want. And so energy was a really big awareness builder and more of a mastery in 2023. And it's going to continue moving forward, but it's, I can feel it a lot more now, which is amazing. And sometimes we have to go through these initiations to learn and master and really understand something, just like with the ego or with binge eating or whatever it is. And so, what I really came to realize is all this guilt and shame and lack and fear that was suppressed in my body was overwhelming my nervous system. And it was really interesting because I'm like, well, how am I helping my body to feel safer if like for, 6 months we weren't sleeping good and all that stuff was happening with neighbors before we moved. And it's like, wow, like there's this whole other part of suppressed emotion that I let go of that helped my body feel safer. So even though through like, the second half of 2023 and, our sleep was garbage, like I didn't retain more water. Yeah, I felt more tired and I'm still catching up on sleep. However, I didn't retain more water. I didn't get puffier. I didn't get more inflamed, right? My body didn't hang on to retention or protection because of the lack of sleep. She was just letting go of retention and any protection because I was getting rid of this guilt and shame. But I wasn't like, I need to lose weight, so I'm going to go scream into my pillow. That's not how this works. It was me going, I'm tired of these old emotions coming up. I'm tired of them triggering me. I'm tired of my ego having such a hold on me with this still. I need to face this and work through this. And it was freaking uncomfortable and it was hard, but it was totally worth it. And now if remnants come up, right, it's easier to shift and clear and work through. And then I also see the value in the lesson, and that, life is going to have, these things, these masteries, these lessons, and anything that I work through and learn and heal, I'm going to teach in my podcast, in my courses, my master classes to my clients, put in my content, because I know if I've gone through it, some of you had to have as well or are. And so I know it's uncomfortable to do your deeper work, but it's the most freeing, fulfilling thing. And one of the reasons I wanted to share about this today is because it's one of the reasons why you're hanging on to the weight and why it won't come off is because you're constantly chasing the diets, the calorie counting, the apps, the meal plans, the exercise routines. But whether or not you're aware, for some of you, maybe you haven't been aware that this can be a big reason why the body hangs on to protection. I'm going to go more into why right away. But for some of you, you know that the diet and the quick fix plan is not the answer, but you continue to do it because you are afraid to do your deeper work. You are afraid to get uncomfortable. You are afraid to fail. You are thinking, wow, that's going to take too much time and energy and effort. And I don't want that. So I'm going to just keep bandwagoning and quick fixing. But then you get the same results and you actually end up suffering more. And then you have to spend more time sorting out your hormones and working on the mindset and all this stuff. Right. So be willing to get uncomfortable. You don't just get uncomfortable for like the whole time. It's like you dip your toe into the pool and then you pull it out. You put your foot in and you pull it out. It's like ebb and flow, right? Because then you have breakthroughs and you're like, oh my gosh, there's been so many gifts in me having to work through this. So many good things have happened. I'm so supported. Wow, I have so even more proof now. I'm so grateful I decided to work through that, right? So it's very powerful. But essentially what happened for me is by clearing out this old suppressed emotion, it regulated my nervous system more, it helped me release more retention, helped my body feel safer, helped me feel safer and more trusting and confident in who I am. And therefore, any remnants or things my body was hanging on to in the form of weight or retention, let go. Okay. And I don't weigh in or anything. I go by the way my clothes are fitting and just personally, more so importantly, how I feel. But every year I go for my physical and my doctor, bless her heart, she's super sweet, but they weigh you and stuff. And then I don't ever like ask about it. And I was leaving. She's like, Amber, you lost like 15 pounds. Like, how did you do it? Like, good for you. Right. Cause Western medicine just praises weight loss. And I'm like, honestly, I cleared a lot of shame and guilt. And she just kind of looked at me with a confused look on her face. It's okay. Not everybody gets it, right? And that's fine. But I was just like, yeah, like releasing negative emotions and stress that's stuck in the body is really important to help the body feel safe. So this did not happen at all by like any kind of intent or focus. I was not focusing on this at all. It happened because I was doing my deeper work and working on clearing out things that no longer served me. And it happened very easily because I was focused on what needed to be focused on. So it's like I said earlier, it's like when we got the house, we weren't focusing on it. It's like this. I wasn't focusing on it. I was focusing on clearing out the freaking uncomfortable guilt, shame, lack, all that stuff. Okay. So what ends up happening, and I'm just going to kind of summarize this. I went deeper into it in a previous episode not long ago about like the nervous system and how we store different emotions and they imprint in our nervous system. And then it really can, stress out our system. So you can go and check that out. But essentially how negative emotions overwhelm the nervous system is there's a few key things I'm going to highlight here. Number one, negative emotions are very dense and very heavy, and they vibrate at a lot lower of a frequency. So you can go and look at emotion frequency charts online, and I've showed them before, but essentially when you're happy and you're calm and you're at peace and you're in trust and faith and the universe has your back and you're connected to your body, right? You're going to have your moments where you get triggered and where emotions come up. But when you're in a more balanced, grounded state, these positive emotions are lighter and at a higher frequency, and your body feels safe residing in them. But if we're constantly in fear, worry, negativity, lack, anger, frustration, guilt and shame are two of the most dense, heavy, low frequency emotions to feel. If you're constantly in this, you're going to feel more weighed down emotionally and energetically. And eventually the body gets more stressed. The more negative emotions and thoughts we have, the more acidic the body gets, the easier it is for unhealthy bacteria to grow. Our cortisol, stress hormone spikes. It suppresses our immune systems. All kinds of illness and dis-ease happen because you're not at ease, you're at dis-ease, right? So all of this can really fuel more symptoms and things that we don't want physically. And then emotionally, we go into more negative self-talk. The ego gets louder. You go into a bigger stress response. You end up having anxiety or depression, right? You're always stressed. You're always negative. You're always affirming negative things, and more negative things keep happening. And this is the thing, side note with this ascension, and I've really noticed this lately, what you affirm and focus your energy on, you will create more of, positive or negative. So be really mindful about how much negativity and affirming of that negativity you're focusing on, because you will create it faster. The higher the frequency gets, the more, right, this ascension occurs on the planet. Manifestation is happening more quickly, whether it's stuff you want or stuff you don't want. You are a powerful creator, so keep that in mind. Right? I'm just far less tolerant now. I'm like, if something comes in, I'm like, F that. No, focusing over here. Doesn't need my attention. So the more of a stress response we're in, the more often we're in these negative emotions, the more of a stress response we produce. The amygdala in the brain is like, oh my gosh, stress response, something's wrong, floods cortisol and adrenaline through your body. And the longer this goes on, the more fatigued, drained, burnt out, brain fogged, irritable, puffy, water retention, bloat, sensitive digestion. You're going to feel more emotionally sensitive and irritable. You're going to potentially put on more weight in the abdomen and fuel more hormone imbalances. And then everything, it's like a domino effect. Everything just starts to go off. Can any of you relate to this? If you can, share below in the comments, share what's going on for you. But part of it is the density of the emotions. Part of it is the longer we hang on to these emotions, or we hold grudges, or we hang on to the past, or you have past experiences that you haven't fully cleared or healed. These emotions will sit in the body, they'll imprint into the nervous system. And then anytime you have a circumstance come up, right, where you feel shame or guilt, or it's around specifically something, say like money or weight or your relationship with food or a certain relationship or work or business, it will get triggered and you will feel these emotions and they will get quite heightened. And then that just keeps stressing your system out. And what does your body want to do? Because what I always say, weight is a protective mechanism. Your body will hang on to it when she doesn't feel safe. So what does your body do? She protects you with the weight, the retention, something for you to hide behind, because she's like, oh my gosh, there's a bear, but the bear is invisible, but we have to protect her because if the bear attacks, we need to make sure she can survive. Your body's not out to get you. She's not gaining weight to punish you. It's got nothing to do with it. But the more you sit in that victimhood mode and you blame your body and you're hard on her and you kick her like a puppy with your negative thoughts and emotions, well, guess what? The more she's going to hang on, because it's literally your mind and your thoughts are at war with your body. Your body only knows how to love unconditionally. Your body cannot be programmed to hate, but the mind can be programmed to hate. The mind can be programmed to be critical. And we see that all the time. Look at how critical you are with yourself and your body on a scale of 1 to 10. Be honest with yourself. 10 being really critical and really negative, and 1 being I'm pretty positive. Where would you rate yourself on a regular basis? Maybe you're not aware and you want to start paying attention to your thoughts and emotions and what you're constantly focusing your energy on. Because if you're creating more of what you don't want, oh, I know some of you might not want to hear this, but it's time to take ownership and responsibility and go, okay, part of this is my doing, my thoughts and emotions. What can I do to shift them? Am I willing to work on shifting them? It's important. So the more of this that builds up in the body, and then you drinking alcohol and you're mindlessly online shopping and you're binging and you're emotionally eating and you're mindlessly scrolling on your phone and you're binge watching Netflix for hours, right? And all these self-sabotaging behaviors keep suppressing and numbing and shoving these emotions down. And then they just build and grow and become bigger emotional and energetic, like weights in the body. And it just keeps stressing out your nervous system, more cortisol, more puffiness, more retention, more inflammation. And it just keeps building, building, building. And then the next thing you know, you've gained 20, 30, 50, 100 plus pounds. And this is a big part of it. So that's how negative emotion overwhelms the nervous system. It's kind of like the summary. I have a lot of other episodes where I talk about it. And so when the nervous system is overwhelmed, well, what ends up happening, like I've been talking about, The overwhelmed nervous system fuels weight gain because you're constantly in the stress response. This is cortisol. This is your stress hormone. And please don't just go online and Google your symptoms and self-diagnose with adrenal fatigue and then take vitamins. It's very important you get hormone testing done to see if the level is too high or too low, because depending on that circumstance of what the reading is, certain things are required if it's too low, and those things can hurt you if you take them and your cortisol is too high, or vice versa. It's then also important to test your thyroid and vitamin and mineral deficiencies and your other sex and stress hormones. And I see so many women, side note, on bioidentical hormones with hormone issues, with progesterone and estrogen, testosterone, but they never get their cortisol tested, or their doctor never gets their cortisol or their thyroid tested. We need to get those tested because those are usually the cortisols at the root of what's fueling all these other imbalances. And what's at the root of fueling this cortisol issue is an overwhelmed nervous system, suppressed emotions that are imprinted on your nervous system. Your amygdala is like constantly in this fight or flight, produce cortisol and adrenaline, flood them through the body. Inflammation, poor immunity. You're getting sick and catching every cold and flu. That's one thing Phil and I were talking about through the holidays. Like, wow, like we haven't, we didn't sleep good for like 6 months. We had a very stressful circumstance. We had noise and our nervous systems were so disrupted. We unexpectedly, bought a house, packed, staged, like mini renovated, paint touch-ups for 10 hours, got our house in the market, sold it in 4 days, moved all within a month, unpacked. Then it's Christmas, then it's new, right? Like we never got sick. Why didn't we get sick? Well, because we have done a lot of inner work to balance our gut, to support our hormones. We take great vitamins. Food prep's a non-negotiable. I did food prep every Sunday all the way through all of this because having nourishing food is really important, right? We have different practices like meditation, the sauna, different things that we use to help support positive outlook, being supportive and encouraging to each other when we're having our little mini breakdowns, right? Like that, but our immune systems are very strong, and there's a lot of stuff floating around through the holidays. But that just goes to show you what happens when you clear out negative emotions, when you learn how to support your nervous system, when you do inner healing physically, emotionally, energetically, your system heals, it becomes stronger. And that's something we should start normalizing rather than normalizing being sick all the time and catching everything and being tired and drained. Like that is not normal. We need to stop normalizing things that shouldn't be normal. So the more stressed my internal body, the more my body thinks that there's a bear or a cougar circling me externally, right? The more protection she hangs on to. Whatever your inner child wounding is, whatever traumas have happened to you, which I'm so sorry for whatever has, whatever stress or fear you have about the world, right? Because I know there's a lot of people that are very concerned about stuff going on in the world. And I think it's important to be aware of things that are going on, but we don't want to like let it trigger us into binge eating and self-sabotage and all kinds of things, because at the end of the day, the best thing you can do is manage your mind and work on yourself. And as we all collectively do so, it has a positive collective impact on the planet. And I'll talk more about that next week. And I think there's a lot of things that are going to come up this year that are really going to, challenge humanity, but then it's going to actually things are going to be fine. It's just that there's some things I think that we have to go through as a collective to shift, and have this be a more healthy, happy place to live. So I'm just intending the outcome that is best for humanity always. But I think it's going to be good. But I think it's going to be a bit of a roller coaster this year to get to the next steps. But inner work and working on yourself is always the best thing you can do, because the best thing you can have control and manage is your thoughts and, how you take care of yourself. You don't have control over the external world. So go inward where you truly can find inner peace. So all this fuels the weight gain. And so if you're constantly thinking, I've got to eat less, I need to eat cleaner, I need to do keto, I need to HCG, I need to work out more, I need to like fast more, I need to take these 10 vitamins to lose weight. Or Amber, I'm not binge eating, I'm taking stuff to support my hormones. Why can't I still lose weight? Well, I guarantee you there is a piece of this here with the nervous system, with suppressed emotions, traumas, inner child wounding, whatever is going on internally that has not been fully addressed. And when you heal this stuff, you don't have to sit with it and feel it and like reminisce and think about the past and focus on it for days, weeks, or months at a time. No, it's that you recognize what triggers the emotions to come up. And if certain circumstances are still triggering you to go into fear, worry, lack, negativity, guilt, whatever it is, you know you haven't fully healed and cleared it. When you have fully healed and cleared it, when a circumstance comes up, you may feel a bit of emotion, but you're like, oh, I'm good. I know everything's going to be fine. And you move forward, and it doesn't pull you down into these negative states, the anxiety, the stress, the overwhelm, the binge eating, all of it. And you also know your body's stepping more into a state of safety because it's easy for her to release weight, retention. And you don't have to force, you don't restrict, you don't diet, you don't starve, you don't have to exercise. You can move because you love it and it makes you feel good and it gives you energy and the endorphin boost, but you don't feel guilty if you don't get it. And you're like, you know what, I didn't sleep good. It's a rest day or it's a rest week. And I'm like totally okay with it. And you're not going to gain weight if your body's in alignment and you've cleared out the negative emotion. We gain the weight back because yeah, you go into a calorie deficit, you lose it for a little while, but then, everything hits the fan and stress happens and then you binge, or you didn't deal with your undealt with hormone issues and your suppressed emotions that are all stuck inside, and it keeps wearing on your nervous system. So the more we clear, the more we're willing to do our deeper work and face these uncomfortable things, the more inner freedom and peace we truly have, the more grounded we feel, the more power we have and step into, the more confident we are. And that to me is priceless. And that is a powerful place to live. My body didn't have to let go of any kind of weight. I was fine and happy with her the way that she was. And I'm fine and happy with her the way she is now. Nothing has changed. I don't treat her any differently. There's always unconditional love. But what's way more freeing than that is the amount of guilt, shame, lack, and fear that I have let go of that no longer holds power over me. Really powerful things happened in 2023. I healed my relationship with money. I feel like I healed money wounds with my dad from, that 18 to 21 age. Hubs and I are so connected around like our mindsets and money and our businesses and all these things and how much we have our backs in it. It feels absolutely incredible. But I had to go through all this and get really vulnerable about my biggest insecurities to see how well supported I was and how well, met with love and compassion I was, and that I could clear it and heal it, and that none of it served me anymore. So be willing to do your deeper work because it opens up freedom. And the more you do your inner work, the more confidence and faith you have in yourself, your abilities to create the incredible life that you want. And that has a positive ripple effect on the collective of the planet and all of those around you. And then you don't have as much fear or worry around circumstances in the world. You actually have more trust and faith. Because every time I ask my intuition, she says it's going to be fine. So, food for thought. Sitting in more inner peace to me is priceless. Having more inner peace, not having anxiety around all of this, right, that I worked through last year, it feels incredible. But it's because I chose to walk through it and work through it, and it was put in my face, and I wasn't going to ignore it anymore because that would just create more suffering, more nervous system overwhelm. So what is the takeaway from today? Share below. And if this is something that for you, you're like, oh my gosh, I really want to work on this. I want to work with you. I want help understanding my ego and how to take my power back from it. I want tools, guidance, support, right? I want coaching and accountability and a loving, safe space to help me release these emotions, to help understand, well, what are my weight loss blocks? Maybe there's also hormone issues, inflammation, binge eating, other things that you're not sure what your weight loss blocks are, and you want help identifying them so that you can help your body feel safer. This is a game of safety. The safer you feel and your body feels, the easier it is to release. The more stressed and controlling and contracted and antsy and right, like just fear and anger and all the stuff, the more your body's going to hang on. Okay. This is part of how it works. But we're not taught that. The diet industry isn't going to teach you that because you're a multi-trillion-dollar a year industry for a reason. They don't want you to succeed. They want you to succeed, temporarily fail, and then come back and be a lifetime customer with them. I want you to heal and have all of this for life, but you're not going to need to be a lifetime customer here. Unless you want to hang out in the membership and learn all kinds of cool self-care tools. You can come for as long as you like or as little time as you like. But I want you to heal and just have this inheritance of this support, coaching, and tools because it will serve you for the rest of your life, regardless of what comes up, and it will change your life for the better. So if you want support and you want to build this confidence and you want to better understand your body and learn how to listen to your body and her cues and why you're hanging on to this protection, you want to feel more confidence and inner peace and have tools to clear out the negative emotions and befriend yourself and build this confidence and this freedom with food, your body, your weight. And we can do hormone testing, review all of that thoroughly, go through natural recommendations and take it at a pace that feels good for you. Well, I'm going to invite you once more, and it's 4444 in the recording. Book your 30-minute body freedom consultation at amberapproved.ca or email me info@amberapproved.ca, and we can chat and we can talk about what's going on for you and what the best support may be for you. I'm so grateful you all are here with me. I'm so excited for this year. It's going to be all right. Woo! Abundance, manifestation, and karma. Okay. So I really encourage you, the next time you're walking down the street and there's a piece of garbage or it's in your driveway or wherever it is, pick it up and put it in the garbage. Honestly, this acts of service significantly raise our frequency. And the more we do that, the more we're on our way to just, better Mama Earth to live on. We all deserve that. So I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. The show notes can be found at amberapproved.ca/podcast/458. If you're also wondering if you're struggling with emotional eating or binge eating and you're not sure, you can take the free emotional eating quiz as well. Share this with someone you know will resonate and or it could help. The more we can spread the word and get the message out, and the more women we can help, and men, of course, to heal their body image relationship with food and really do the deeper work, the more we heal the planet. And that, my friends, is why I'm here recording this for you every week, is to help be of service for each and every one of you, and also to do my part to help heal this planet. This is why we're here. I'm sending you all so much love. I'm cheering you on. And remember, there is no better time than the present to take action on our health. So take action now. Have a beautiful day, a great week. And I will look forward to sharing a whole new episode with all of you beautiful souls next Sunday. Take care.